So how do you find the dynamic between the three of them? Do the girls gang up together, or do they all play together? How does it work? Because I think in some ways three can be, I like having three dogs. This is maybe a bit depressing, but someone said to me many years ago, and it made a lot of sense, and I've actually stuck with it myself, that three is the optimum number because you never have one left on their own.
Yeah.
So if you have to take one to the vet, the one that's left has got a friend.
Yeah.
When that time comes at the end, you don't have a dog on their own because they've got the other one. And I know when I got down to two, one of whom was elderly and decrepit, and the other was incredibly nervous. It's like, oh my goodness, I need another dog quickly,
Yeah.
because it was if the elderly one dies, the other one will not cope. And
Yeah.
I rushed out and I got Meg, like within a week, because I didn't feel comfortable only having those two, both of whom had issues. And so in that way, three works well in terms of no one ever having to be left alone. But at the same
Yeah.
time, three can be an awkward number because you haven't got two pairs,
Yes.
and do you get one left out, or do they all muck in together? I think it'd be interesting to hear
Yeah.
how the three of them get on, with Esme having now arrived a month ago and joined in with that
Yeah. And I
interesting
think
relationship.
it's a good point to raise as well, because I was convinced that I only would take on a girl,
Mm,
because Eric is, as I say, quite a softie. And because I do daycare and boarding
yeah.
here, my dogs mix a lot with
Mm.
dogs that don't live with us. Um, but there are some male dogs that bully Eric.
Oh, bless him.
And I know, and he's not that type of dog that would
No.
necessarily stand up for himself, or
Yeah.
he's not pushy,
Mm,
none of that. And I thought, well, I don't want to bring another
mm,
male in and risk that male sees Eric as being a soft touch
yeah.
and does push him out of the way, or
Yeah.
whatever. Whereas I knew that Ethel, she is so out there and, kind of optimistic and happy go lucky, that she would just get on with it.
Mm,
In a
mm,
way, I felt she was a wee bit more resilient when it came to
yeah.
bringing another dog in.
Mm,
Eric would accept another dog, another male dog, absolutely no bother.
mm,
But I just felt, I'm not sure that I would be comfortable. So that was why it had to be a
mm,
girl. And the interesting thing for me is that they don't do everything as a threesome.
mm.
Um, Eric, I would say, to be honest, if he had his choice between being with the girls or being with me, he'd rather be with me.
All right. Okay.
Apart from just now when
Yeah.
Ethel is in season, and then he would
Yeah.
rather be with Ethel.
Yeah.
But he's not. That they don't all play together. If they
Right.
go outside together, the two girls are playing,
Mm-hmm.
and Eric is over here doing
Doing
his
my own
thing.
things.
And what I have noticed is, quite often, if you have multiple dogs, you'll get one that is a splitter. So
Yes.
one
Yes.
that
I've got
will
one of
either
those.
stand in between
Yeah.
or will stop when there's too much
Yeah.
excitement. And Eric is definitely a splitter.
Yeah.
So
Is he a
when
referee?
Ethel, he is, so he's the fun police. So when
Yeah,
when
I've got one.
Ethel and when Ethel and Esme, when he perceives that they're getting too
Yeah.
much, he'll just
It's
turn
good.
around and he'll just give one bark, one
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
and they both look and they stop what they're doing and then off they go. And he doesn't even come over to them; he just
Yeah.
goes whoa
Oh,
like this.
that's very good.
Ah, yeah.
I'm
So
impressed. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so it's funny when I watch them. Um, Eric and if they're sniffing, they'll all go and sniff together.
Yeah.
If they've found something really interesting that's a good sniff, they'll all go over and sniff together. So activities like that, they will do as a
Mm.
group.
Yes.
But any sort of play, it's been
Girls.
the two girls.
Yeah.
And Eric
Yeah.
will sometimes play a little,
Yeah.
but then he gets fed
Yeah.
up with
He's not
the
into it.
girls.
Yeah.
No, no.
That's really interesting because it kind of mirrors my experience. I mean, I know Floppy wants to be with me. So
Uh-huh.
he's keen to be in the shed when I'm recording videos, but he doesn't stay down there on his own unless I'm gardening nearby.
Yeah.
But while I'm trying to record videos, quite often Gandalf and Floppy are causing mayhem. There's Eric. Hi, Eric.
Oh, there it
They're
is.
often causing mayhem on the grass out of shot, and I'm thinking, please stop, because you're going to cause, you and sometimes Floppy does shoot off to go and join in, but the other two are in
Yes.
the house. But if those two are getting too carried away and AJ is out, he is my splitter, so he will come and he will go right in between the two that are play fighting and start barking at them, and he just literally,
Right.
he goes straight and stands right between them and separates
Uh-huh.
them. But I'm interested as well that you said you wanted a girl because you didn't want a boy that would boss Eric around. In my experience, it's
Yes.
the girls that are the bossy ones. And I've spoken to a few people who've got a second greyhound girl, and she's been very bossy with the existing boy. But also, I remember very much when I had Pip and she was elderly. Pip was a girl. I remember when Meggie hadn't been here very long, and she had one of those Kong wobblers, with it's hard plastic with a weight at the bottom. You put food
Yes.
in and it wobbles. And
Yep.
Meggie loves it, but on my wooden floor, it made the most horrendous noise. And Pip would sit in her bed in the corner, and when Meggie made it noise on the floor, and Meggie wouldn't play with it when Pip would, and Pip just needed to be in bed in the corner. She didn't get out of bed, she didn't move a muscle, she just, and Meg
Yeah.
would leave it alone and walk off.
Yes.
But the boys didn't bat an eyelid. So
Yeah.
interesting, the difference, the girl and boy difference, because to me it's the girls that are the bossy ones. I would
Yeah.
have a house with boys and not have
No,
a house.
it's interesting. I think that often you do find the girls have got a bit more about them.
Yes,
That they're a bit
they
more
know their
aware
own
of what's
mind.
going on. I don't know
Yeah,
if the boys are maybe just, more cuddly. I don't
yeah,
know.
more laid back.
Certainly
Yeah, easy going.
my Rotties, the
Yeah,
boys were always really, really cuddly, and
yeah,
they were always wanting to be close,
yeah,
and the girls were away doing
yeah.
things. They were
Yeah.
busy.
Or giving me
So,
instructions.
yes.
Like, open this
So,
gate, where's my dinner? Let me in here, let me out there. Yeah.
yes, I've
Gossip.
seen something,
Yeah.
so we all have to look.
Fix my
And in
bed.
fact, I've got a really funny story about that actually, quickly, and it's when Ava, who was one of my Rotties, she lived with. We had a male Rottie called Theo, and we had a wee staffy, a boy called Jacob.
Yeah.
And the boys would always get the toys, and Ava
Mm.
wanted the toys, but she just felt that it was too much effort to really go
Mm.
in there and take it off of them. So what she used to do is run to the front of the house to the window, and she would bark, and the boys would come from behind her running to the window.
Yeah.
"Ah!"
And
And
then
she
she
would
could,
walk
yeah.
calmly and go and pick the
Yeah.
toy up.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
Yeah.
twins.
Yeah.
So I think there is a sort of craftier
Yeah.
side a wee bit to
Yeah.
the girls,
Yeah.
actually.
I wonder about that with my AJ as well, because he will quite often run down outside and do that bark that says, help, there's something out here, you need to come and help me deal with it. But of course, there's nothing there. So he gets them all to come running, and then he saunters back in and gets the bed he wants.
Yeah, yeah, it's
But he
clever.
wouldn't have dared to take it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
he's always the one that Gandalf is the worst for this. He's an absolute nightmare for this. If he wants this bed, he wants this bed, and he will loom over them till he gets it. And he only has to come near the bed with AJ on it, and AJ will get up and go. And if I try to intervene to stop Gandalf doing that, my movement will get AJ up and gone anyway. So
Yeah.
it doesn't help. The best I can do is try and cuddle Gandalf to keep him away. But he wouldn't take that bed off him, but if he can get the others to go outside, he can come in and get it back.
Yeah.
So
And
he has his tactics because he is the
it's
big something.
intelligent, isn't it? And I think that
Yeah.
a lot of communication with dogs anyway is about avoiding that direct conflict.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
if they can avoid it, all the better. I mean, I've got some brilliant videos of Eric and Ethel before Esme came. Ethel didn't want to come into the living room,
Mm.
and Eric was just lying there, and he
Yeah.
wasn't doing a hard stare. He wasn't doing,
But he's present.
but she obviously thought, oh, I don't know, and she waited, and it was really funny because then Eric just sort of shifted his weight, and she
And
went,
that's
oh,
enough.
I'm coming in now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
their conversations are so subtle at times
Yeah.
that, we don't know what's going on unless
Yeah.
we're really, really observant.
Yeah.
But I think the whole idea is that they should avoid, no matter how many dogs you've got, they
Mm.
should be trying to avoid
Yeah.
conflict.
Yeah.
The problem is that if they don't have enough physical space,
Mm.
or that we're interfering all the time,
Yeah.
and then we'll get a situation where the dogs have got to escalate.
Yeah.
But really, they would much prefer
Yeah.
if they could sort things out and
Mm.
find a way of getting the bed, of getting the
Yeah.
toy that doesn't involve direct conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine
Um,
definitely involved me in that. And I think that probably is for the best because it's invariably relating to Gandalf, who is a case of his own, a very different kettle of fish, not normal, in many senses of the word. Um, None of mine, except maybe Floppy, will walk past him when he's lying down. But if I go and stand next to his head and stroke him, I don't even need to do anything. They just go past. They know that that is the cue. It's okay now.
yeah,
And they'll come eat just as close, but I have to be
yes,
standing there.
yeah,
And I think that comes from the first year with him, which was incredibly, incredibly difficult with his behavior, his aggressive behavior. And they learned they did not feel comfortable going past him when he's laying down. Standing up, fine, but not lying down.
yeah,
And that stuck with all of them. And even Jim, who wasn't here when Gandalf was that bad, has learnt it. But I just have to go and stand next to him and I say, come on then, Meg, or Jim, and they'll go through.
yeah.
But
And I think
not
that is
if
the
I'm
thing you
not
have
there.
to,
So I am
yeah,
the buffer. And I
yeah,
accept that because I don't want to risk him having the
yeah.
opportunity to attack them, but I know he's not going to attack me.
Mm.
So,
And I think the issue arises though when if you have a situation where, like Eric, who was in the living room,
mm,
and Ethel was thinking about coming in, what people tend to do is start, excuse me, is start saying to
encouraging.
Ethel,
Yeah, yeah.
just come in, it'll be fine.
But maybe
And
she
of
would
course, then
feel
she's
safe.
conflicted
Yeah,
between, well, he's actually telling me not to, but
yeah,
you're telling me to come in.
yeah,
So there we cause
yeah.
a bit
You
of
cause the
conflict
problem.
between the
Yeah,
dogs. So I think that, when it comes to having X number of dogs, whether it's 2 or 3, multiples at all, they do have to find a way of existing and coexisting.
yes,
But that does not mean that we just let them
mm,
sort it out for
yeah,
themselves,
yeah,
and fight,
yeah,
or that
yeah,
one poor dog is bullied.
yeah.
Because what we've got to remember is they're animals and they don't have a sense of fairness.
No, no.
So
And they
just
didn't choose
because,
to live with that one, did they
no,
necessarily? I mean, okay, they might have gone to meet them, but they don't know any more from a couple of meetings that they're going to want to live with them than you do.
yes,
So,
yeah,
that
and
might not have been their
that's
choice of dog
no, and that's the
to
thing
have.
that most homes aren't, amazingly spacious. They
Mm,
have got to share, coexist and share an area. Now, they have to be able to do that without constantly feeling scared or
mm,
constantly feeling they have to defend the area that
Yeah.
they're in. And of course, one of the big things, no matter how well my dogs got on together, they're fed in separate rooms in
Yeah.
separate areas.
Yeah.
Why risk that there's an issue
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
feeding them all together?
Yeah.
Actually say this is one area where you can control that, and you make sure that
Yeah.
they're separated. Ethel eats so quickly
Mm.
that before Eric and Esme have even got halfway through, she would be in trying to steal their
Yeah.
food anyway.
Mm.
But then that potentially is going to cause tension
Yeah.
with Esme and Eric.
Mm.
So I don't want resource guarding over
No.
food
And
development.
it's so simple, isn't it, to just
Yeah,
segregate them? I mean, we all have segregation for lunch and dinner and breakfast, and they have learned over time that you're not allowed to lick someone else's bowl until they walk away from it.
yeah,
So they might get some extra cuddles as a way of restraining them until the other dog walks away, and then with time they learn that that's not allowed.
yeah.
But they're very spread out. I would never feed them close together because there's no point putting them in a situation where that conflict could arise.
Absolutely. And that would not happen, if they were left to their own devices, they would not choose to go and eat
No,
side by
no,
side.
no.
But if we put their bowls there and they're
Mm,
fixed, they can't pick them up and move away, then they're kind of forced into a situation by us
yeah,
unnecessarily. There's no reason for that to have to happen. And I think dogs need to know that no matter how many other dogs are there, that they can actually eat in peace
yeah,
without having to eat as quickly as you can
yes,
in case somebody else is coming in for your food. And that also, if you have a dog that has that situation, then they can develop all sorts of issues with
mm,
the way that they eat in their stomachs, but also they then become more likely to guard
yes,
things
yeah,
like chews or biscuits or
mm,
something that falls on the ground. And it can all come from that, either having to eat very, very quickly so that another dog doesn't steal, or that they feel they have to, sit
yes.
almost
Guard
round
it,
their food bowl.
protect it. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Interesting, isn't it? I think it is just a fascinating subject, and we could talk all day on this subject. It has been amazing hearing more about Esme and her addition to your household. I'm impressed with how you cope with three such big hairy dogs, because they seem so much bigger than greyhounds. And I remember back
Yeah.
to getting my first greyhound thinking, oh my goodness, what have I done? Because she looks so huge, and now 5 doesn't seem that big, but Old English still seem enormous.
Yeah, they take up a lot of space, but if you actually go to
Yes,
touch them,
not much there.
they're quite slim dogs, really.
Yes,
It just
underneath
looks,
it's all
yeah, they're
yeah,
not really that substantial.
yeah.
But yeah, just lots of hair and lots of grooming.
Yes, I can imagine. That's one thing I don't miss, is not having a lot of grooming.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed that as much as I have. And a big thank you again to Dale for joining me today to share her insights about living with several dogs in the household and how they vary in their personalities. We'll be back again soon with more videos for you. So bye for now.
Look out for new videos every Monday, and why not subscribe so you don't miss out?